Hello everybody, I'm Rene Ramos, director of the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives, and this is Rewind, the show that looks back on Florida's past with historic film and video. It's time for another trip back into the past, so sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Rewind.
This is Montage, with your host this evening, Jim Brosmer.
Good evening. Tonight on Montage, you will see three different views of people trying to expand the boundaries of human understanding. You'll see cancer victims here in South Florida searching for ways to combat and treat their dread disease. You'll meet a man who organizes expeditions of ordinary people to do scientific research. And our first story is about a man helping to improve understanding between people. Here in Miami, as in every American city, the policeman on the beat is a visible symbol of government authority. But what if that policeman is black? It's been just 22 years since the first school desegregation case that started the modern civil rights movement. A long time in the life of one man, but just a moment in the much longer history of black oppression. Has Miami changed enough in those years to accept the black police officer? Maury Oliker reports.
Boyd, here. 26, 510, Roberson.
This is Officer Harold Boyd, 25 years old. He's a 2-year veteran of the Miami Police Department. Boyd was just 3 when the Supreme Court ruled that integration was to be the law of the land. And he grew up in Alabama, just in time to be a child of the civil rights movement. He's always wanted to be a policeman, as long as he can remember. Once, not long ago, that would have been a laughable ambition for a black child in the South. Not today. Boyd rides the day shift. On a Monday morning in May, the sky is just getting light when, through with daily roll call, and sure of the condition of his Dodge Cruiser and his equipment, he climbs into car 510 to patrol his zone. Most of us would not envy the life of a patrolman. It's an endless search for a usually faceless enemy, forever circling the same small area of the city, looking for trouble and waiting for a call to help someone in need. But Harold Boyd loves his job.
It's real interesting work, and I enjoy every day of it. Every day I get up in the morning, be glad to get to work. It's the type of job I enjoy coming to.
What about it do you particularly like?
Believe it or not, everything.
Most days start off quietly. Few calls, so he rides and watches.
Well, you look for things out of the ordinary. If you ride a particular zone for a while, you'll begin to pick up these things and recognize things that doesn't seem right. And like most police officers, I guess they're a little like women. They're very curious.
Anything in particular you see on the street today that's unusual?
Well, everything right now looks quite normal. I'm going to circle around here and see can I locate anything that I would consider unusual at the time.
If there's nothing else to do, it's always a good idea to stop in and check with local businessmen. Get to know the people on your beat. And there's rarely an opportunity to get impatient. Soon enough, the voice from his radio will say, 126, and he will answer his call.
Good for business. 2026-14, 421, Northeast, 70 Street, Yale. See the complainant for location of the metal box in the area with a chain around it. 1111.
Miami Avenue and 62nd Street.
Just on Lynn.
On the way to the address, Officer Boyd tries to anticipate what he'll find. Okay, I'm ready to go.
Some metal box with a chain. It could be a bomb call. We might have to call the bomb unit. I don't know. I'll see when I get there. I'll be there in a few minutes.
That is a box. And I saw them inside, and I was afraid.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm gonna go over and take a look at
Very,
it.
very funny looking.
No need for the bomb squad this time. The box turns out to be a traffic counting device used by the road department. But you can never tell. A policeman's life is always in danger. And here's one of the most dangerous calls, and one of the most common. 4 officers converge on the scene of a domestic squabble. No real crime, but hot tempers for sure. All those blue uniforms tend to cool things off before anyone gets hurt. In fact, a patrolman has a lot more of this kind of work than simple law enforcement. That's one reason Harold Boyd is confident that he's the right man for the job.
I'm very good and I'm pretty understanding. And I also feel that I'm a very intelligent person and I can deal with the public. I enjoy dealing with the public. And with bearing all this in mind, I think those qualities help make a good policeman. You have to be able to understand people, and you have to like to work with people because that's what your job mainly pertains to, working with people, helping people with their problems. And a lot of the time, the problems don't even be police work, but you must know how to deal with it. Sometimes you get to be a lawyer, you get to be a counselor, a teacher, father, or what have you. It's an assortment of work here in police work. You do all sorts of things. It's not any one cut and dry thing. And each situation is different, each case is different, and you must know how to deal with it. If you can deal with that, you can make it okay.
Out on patrol, Boyd's tact, patience, and understanding are constantly put to the test. Here, for instance, he's been called to investigate a burglary in the home of an elderly woman.
I think I saw that car when I drove up. It's kind of a reddish car, and it was a young white man, young youth, come out of the house next door. Not out of the house, but come from next door. And he looked at me and got in the car and left. I don't know if there was another one in the car or not.
Okay, when you got
I recognized the car.
When you got it, you came in the front door, right?
I came in the front door.
You
The front door was, no, I came through the garage. I have a garage.
Your front door locked?
No, it was open. They went out through the front door. Went out through the front door, if you please.
There's nothing much he can do here, except note the facts of the case, look for evidence, and make a report. A fingerprint specialist comes out to give him a hand. Meanwhile, he talks to the victim.
What's your first name, man?
Margaret, M-A-R-G-A-R-E-T.
How old are you, man?
74.
You're not that old.
Yeah, don't tell me. Listen, I've had a quarter I'd given you.
A lot of my cases, I kind of follow them up myself, but we do have detectives to follow up a lot of the cases. See, when a person's house is being broken into, to them, that's the most important thing, and they want the police there at the end. They don't just want you there to come there and write a report and leave. They want you to show that you are really concerned, and you should be concerned, because it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. And that's the worst thing in their life then, almost the worst thing when something like that happens. A person get hurt, a person get robbed or something of this nature. That's very important to them. And it's left up to the policeman a lot to make this person feel that they are concerned about it and they want to try to help them find their property or what have you.
A policeman's day is full of little incidents. We spent 2 days riding with Harold Boyd. In that short time, he handled 2 burglaries, a purse snatching, a burglar alarm that went off for no reason, a car stuck in the middle of an intersection, a woman who had to be taken to the hospital, an elderly drunk who was bothering a shop owner and had to be taken away to a detoxification center, an old woman who died in bed, a dispute over a bill at a service station, and he wrote several tickets. He also answered a call to a robbery in progress, but the suspect had been caught before he arrived. Has Miami grown up enough to accept black policemen? No question about it. In our 2 days with Harold Boyd, the question never came up, except when we asked. He was friendly and courteous with everyone he met, black, white, or Latin, and the people he encountered responded in kind. But is it more difficult for a black man to be a police officer in Miami?
Well, I think it's difficult for anyone to be a police officer. It's a unique job, and it takes a unique type of person to deal with police work, whether he's white or black.
Do you feel that you get resistance from members of the public that you might not get if you were white?
Not really. You might run into instances they might say you're doing this because I'm white or because I'm black, but they would tell any officer that, whether he's white or black. You do certain things because I'm this color, I'm that color. They just, most of the time, do that just to try to get by one way or another.
Two other black officers figure prominently in Boyd's life.
Yes, sir.
One is his sergeant, a burly man who looks well qualified for the SWAT team insignia he wears. They meet daily in the field to exchange information. The other black officer in his life is policewoman Gwen Boyd, his wife. They met in academy 2 years ago and just got married this February. Gwen's shift starts shortly before Harold's ends, so when he has a chance, he drops in to see her off to work. And then, while she patrols the same zone he's just left, he worries.
I could say I'm sort of afraid. I worry about it until she get home at night from working out there in the streets because it is dangerous and there's a little more risk in police work than there is in a lot of other jobs. But she's pretty capable of handling herself, and I feel that she'll be okay.
Did we say that not too long ago, the dream of being a policeman would have been a foolish one for a black growing up in the South? That must have been before the election of black mayors and congressmen around the country. Before a black justice sat on the United States Supreme Court. Before, well, times really have changed. Today, a black police officer on patrol can dream and know that someday maybe his dreams will come true.
Well, I'd like to probably retire from the City of Miami Police Department one day. I'd probably like to be major, even chief. My next rank from police will be sergeant. I hope when the time comes for me to take the sergeant exam that I score very, very good on the sergeant exam and make sergeant the first time around.
We filmed you telling your sergeant last week that you hope you're going to make Officer of the Month this month. What do you think your chances are?
I was just joking about that, about making Officer of the Month. I would like to. I feel any officer should like to make Officer of the Month. You find it mostly, I guess, among the young officers.
What is it?
My chances? I don't know. Montage.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
We Americans have a lot to be proud of. In just 200 short years, we've developed the most free and advanced society in the world. We know our technology has given us the chance to take that lead. But we're now finding out that there is a price to pay for that technology: cancer. No one is certain what is the basic cause of cancer, whether it's a virus or a genetic trait or even a nutritional deficiency. But medical science does now have some leads. For one thing, they are now sure that some certain substances, products, and byproducts of that marvelous technology can definitely trigger a cancer growth. You've heard about some of these things that the government is now beginning to ban. For example, DDT, asbestos, red dye number 2. For another thing, the traditional treatments, surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy are being continually improved. In spite of that, though, this year, 2/3 of 1 million Americans will get cancer, the largest number ever. You have a 1 in 3 chance of getting cancer sometime in your life. The result is that people today will turn to treatments that are not proven. Some will turn to treatments that aren't even approved.
Now, they gave you 4 months to live.
That's right.
What happened? You're obviously still very much alive.
Yes, I am. Well, in October, I tried a different plan. I went on a nutritional program using many vitamins and minerals, some legal, some illegal. But that doesn't bother me a bit, the fact that they're legal or illegal. The fact is that they helped me, and they have restored my body to relatively good health.
Mrs. Garbitz is a 42-year-old, happily married mother of 4. She also is a victim of breast cancer. The treatment she says she has tried includes still another piece in the cancer puzzle, the highly controversial and illegal substance called Laetrile. We talked to another person who has recovered from an apparently severe cancer through the use of Laetrile, but he brought out a point that may have even been a greater element in his recovery.
Laetrile is an important piece of this jigsaw puzzle, but it's not the whole puzzle. If that analogy has any validity, I would say it requires the other things to go with it. The diet is exceedingly important. Your mental attitude is exceedingly important. Your will to live is paramount. It goes without saying that you cannot expect a person to survive who doesn't wish to survive. This could be in the psyche, the subconscious.
The original studies that led to the ban of Laetrile are now under fire, and the Food and Drug Administration may be forced to take another look at it. But even the American Cancer Society, in a recent report, now agrees that the psyche, the frame of mind, the will to live, does and will have an effect on cancer. It's one more weapon you can give your body to help fight off this enemy. But hope is a hard thing to keep with cancer.
It is such a long, prolonged illness, and there's so little that has really been able to be presented from the field of medicine that has something that you can bank on, that you can say, yes, there is something that can be done. With kidney disease, you have a kidney transplant possibility. So in heart disease, you can have medications that can give you a longer period of freedom from heart attacks and so on. Or you do have different programs to follow. There's more hope with these conditions.
But it is vital that you keep hope. This group in Fort Lauderdale is a chapter of the International Association of Cancer Victims and Friends. Their main theme is supplying information about unorthodox treatments. But an important addition to that is there may be hope for anybody.
Does that in itself help them, changing their frame of mind? Do you see that helping people?
Yes, it seems to, because I have met people who were completely without hope, and I've seen them after they gained some education, some information on what their problem was. I've seen their different attitude, and actually it even reflects, you can see it in their eyes, of course, but in a short period of time you actually see it in them physically, in the way that they walk, in the way that they hold themselves, their skin tone, their muscle tone.
Do you think that has a bearing on how they can fight the disease?
Yes, I believe it does. The mental condition is, from what I have seen as a layperson, is very important in a cancer case.
There is hope in the fight against cancer. Fantastic amounts of money are being spent on research each year. Toxic substances are being isolated and banned, and other treatments are coming to light for study. And one more hope lies in just the will itself to overcome it.
I know that people who quit die. Those that fight are more apt to live. Cancer is kind of something you let happen to your body. And when you start fighting it off, I've talked to many people who have been told that they were going to die, and they said, I will not. And they live much longer than people that just throw in the sponge, like I did originally.
The fight against cancer is a battle about which none of us can give up hope. Now here's Joe Abril with a guest who has a very unusual occupation.
Now, if you listen closely tonight, you may hear one of the most exciting proposals you've ever heard. You may end up this summer looking at sea otters in California, or digging through some ancient ruins in Nevada, or going to Mexico or wherever. Because tonight I'm going to talk about really one of the most exciting ideas I've seen in a long time. It's very simply to put lay people like you and me, into scientific research projects, really all over the world. You pay a small fee to join the research team, and for 2 or 3 weeks, or depending on how much time you buy on for, you become a part of that research team. And you live and work with the scientists, you help them in their research, and you have an exciting time doing something that you probably would never do before. With us tonight is the president of the organization which is making that possible, Brian Rossborough, president of Earthwatch. Thank you. Welcome to Montage. Thank you. Brian. I've got to tell you, I don't use the word exciting very often. And I hope this is half as provocative as it seems to be, of putting people in all these research projects. For example, let me read just a couple. You can go to Jordan to study archaeological ruins, Venezuela to study oil birds, Athens to study population genetics, Mallorca to study ancient civilizations. You can go to Arizona to study mountain birds, Nevada, the great ecological basin, Mammoth Graveyard in South Dakota. The list is endless. How did you ever get into doing this?
Well, it started in 1971, Joe. It started very simply with the problem that scientists, scholars at universities and museums and other institutions were having problems finding funding to do basic field research, that is to say, research outside of their institution. The sources of those funds had traditionally been their own institutions, foundations, and in most cases the government. And there are long queues of scholars waiting for funds.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we just set up a clearinghouse, which is now called Earthwatch. It's a nonprofit institution. And we simply invite members of the public to apply to work for projects which have been pre-screened by senior scientists in various disciplines. And starting with 4 projects in 1971, we have now underwritten about 170 expeditions in 30 countries.
Now people pay, well, let's take for example, now here's one. It says Plymouth Shipwrecks, England. Staging area is Exeter. 2 teams, one going from August 14th to August 28th, that's 2 weeks. Contribution $750. Okay, I send you a check for $750, what happens? What do I have to do?
Well, the process first starts with your questionnaire. You also apply, and we ask a lot about your background, your interests in broadcasting, your avocational studies, and we ask you a whole smorgasbord list of questions, whether you like to dive, draw, map, can drive 4-wheel vehicles, etc. And that application is sent off to the research team. In this case, it's Commander Box, Alan Box, who is living and working out of Fort Beaubassin near Plymouth. He's a diver. He's worked with the Admiralty Research Organization for the Royal Navy, and he's found 2 quite distinguished wrecks, one of which is the oldest wreck yet found off the English shores, a 15th century merchant. And the other is a warship of about 17th century that has already yielded about 44 guns. And he needs help. He needs 2 things. He needs some funding, and he needs divers. People are good in the water. So we're looking for about 6 or 10 scuba qualified divers and about 6 or 10 others who would be working in shallower depths, doing snorkeling, boat handling, working on the artifacts that would come out.
Great. That seems almost too simple and too economical to be true. I mean, I think of an search, I think of an enormous cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't sound like there's that much money being spent.
Well, this idea is not going to change the world. I mean, we are really only able to help those kinds of scholars and research projects that can use non-specialists in the field. And we are generally only able to give small contributions of $2,000 to $20,000, which are the collective contributions of many people.
Mm-hmm.
We have several projects this summer, for instance, in Latin America, that are looking for Latin American participants
Speak Spanish.
or Spanish-speaking participants. One, to measure the astronomical alignment of the various shrines in Cusco, near Peru.
Right.
And another to map the canal system of the Shimu culture in the Andes.
Okay, well now if someone wants to go, they I guess start by getting this catalog. Is that, here's what it looks like.
Well, that would be help, yes, if they just write to Earthwatch, Belmont, Massachusetts,
right.
And we'll whistle one of those right out.
Great, and this lists what's available, and it's just a plain little paper catalog, but your mind takes over the imagination of what you might be doing this summer. It's fabulous. Then you send them back, they tell you what they like, and then you
Then they go through a
questionnaire
very quick questionnaire process. They're approved by the research team, and then it's up to the participants and the scientists to make their way in the field.
Great. Well, it's a great idea. I'd like to maybe work out something and go on one myself.
Well, I hope you'll do it this summer.
Thank you very much for being with us, Brian.
Thanks a lot.
We'll be right back.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Next week on Montage, we'll see two very unusual forms of athletics you've probably never thought about. First, we'll go to the University of Miami campus for the annual Southeast Regional Wheelchair Olympics, and we'll see that even crippling handicaps cannot stop men from competition on the playing field. And then we'll journey down to Grassy Key to watch 4 superb athletes in training. They're all Atlantic bottlenose dolphin. That's our montage for tonight. I'm Jim Brosmer. Good evening.
That's about it for this edition of Rewind. Just time to remind you that Rewind features historical film and video from the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collections, visit our website, wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the archives catalog and watch video online. And be sure to connect to our YouTube channel, where you will find hundreds of carefully curated clips, or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. Until next time, I'm Rene Ramos. Thanks for watching.